Hi, my name is Randall. Like many people, I wear a mask. Not literally, and now I'm not talking about the disposable ones. I'm talking about the masks we wear daily when we're alone with ourselves. We have one mask, and when with friends or family, we have another. Some people manage not to show their true face even to themselves. I don't know if that's good or bad, we just choose what we like, don't we? As for me, my mask is more, well, secretive, but I'll tell you about that later. I've always been smarter than my peers. Thanks to my intelligence, I got along with a lot of kids, even adults. My late father had an acquaintance, Mr. Friend, rich but inept at building a relationship with his son Jet. One made a lot of money for the other, and the other took full advantage of it. Jet and I used to be childhood friends, but then we stopped because his money grew and mine didn't. The only one who got upset was Mr. Friend. He thought I was a positive influence on his son. After a while, they moved to another neighborhood, more upscale. My mum and I moved too, only to a less upscale, so-called poor neighborhood. And then Jet and I turned 15 years old. We had a birthday party on the same day, and we celebrated them very differently. Jet had a fancy party, lots of friends, presents, cake, fireworks, while I worked a second job, and the only one who congratulated me was Facebook. My mum worked multiple jobs too, so we left the word holiday far in our memories. I understood everything and never took offense. But last year, things changed a bit. My mum and I had the same day off, and after dinner, we were just watching TV. Then Mr. Friend came over to our house, dragging a bunch of boxes of groceries and new things with him. Anyway, our one bedroom was flooded with presents. My mum and I were surprised. I was surprised I didn't even get up from the couch to help. He congratulated me and then told me that all of this was for me and my mum. I thanked him and asked why, and he suddenly sat down on the couch and grabbed his head. "I wanted to ask you a favor." "You want me to pretend I have money and watch your son?" "How did you?" "I'm smart, and there are also expensive suits and shoes with tags in the boxes. I don't think you'd give me all that for your cafe job. What will you offer in return?" "I'll pay your college tuition, support you and your mum while you work for me, so your mum stays home and you don't get distracted. But I'll take that secret to my grave." "That's right. I'll give you an extra $100,000 for being smart." "When do we start?" Mum was shocked. Mr. Friend wrote a check for $200,000, said it was for Mum and me for the first time. When he came out, Mum almost fainted. We immediately ordered a shitload of food, and my mum talked all night about how smart I was. The next day, I came to school to see Jet. He was surprised, but he appreciated my appearance. His father had already bothered to get me into that school temporarily. I wasn't so much as learning as I was observing an old friend. Of course, he immediately took me into his company, and after a couple of days, I was already kind of my own. Jet invited me to a meeting of the chosen ones on his boat. All the guys talked about was money. After a ride on the water, they invited me to play golf, then have a quiet seafood dinner at the restaurant. In the evening, we sat down to play poker, where I beat all the guys in just 2 hours. Jet was pleased with me, and I realized that it wasn't just a day. Jet was giving me a poverty test. If I pretended to be rich, I wouldn't be able to eat oysters culturally, play golf, and discuss business plans. I wouldn't know how to drive a yacht, argue about girls, and tie my tie properly before dinner. But I knew it all, and I was ready. When the initiation was over, Jet and I met at his favorite club. His father told me that his son had been disappearing a lot lately, and he thought he was into something. My job was to find out what. It was for this purpose that Jet called me to talk. First, he asked a few simple questions, and then about where I got my money. "I conspired with your father. He paid me to keep an eye on you." "Ah, witty brother. Yeah, you always did have a good brain. All right, I don't care where you got that from. I need your brains." "What for?" I'm in the business of smuggling cheap whiskey for the dumb kids of the rich. I put cheap liquor in the expensive stuff and they buy it by the crate. Not enough money for you? You can never have too much. What about your father? Nothing, it's my business. I want to raise money quickly and he wants it, right? But one doesn't go with the other, you know? Yeah, what's the right thing to do? Thereafter, Jet and I were actively doing business together. He trusted me out of old memory and also because I once saved his ass. How was that? I'll tell you. His closest associate before me was Casper. The one time he wanted to cheat Jet by telling him the goods hadn't arrived, he took them for himself and negotiated a bulk sale to a local bar. The consequences could have been dire, for it wasn't youngsters drinking at that bar, but adults who would have guessed right away that it wasn't whiskey. Then, gradually, everyone would have found out about Jet, and his father would have been destroyed. I burned Casper almost immediately when I noticed the fake bill of sale. Surprised? Yeah, we had the paperwork. We didn't tell the suppliers where we were selling or for whom. There were discrepancies in quantity and date. And then I noticed Jet's forged signature. I followed Casper and got out just as he was about to unload the goods. "Jet, I slammed him," I said to my childhood friend over the phone. And the next thing I knew, they were having a showdown with each other. I heard that Jet promised to get back at him in a big way, and someday to hurt him so badly that he wouldn't get hurt. I knew roughly what he meant. After losing the associate, Jet had no choice but to take me. Meanwhile, my mother wasn't working. She was home warm, fed and healthy, which was all I needed. We were saving up money for an apartment, and at the same time, I was talking to Mr. Friend to work off the money. I told him about his son's business, and he gave me another $300,000. "Make sure my son isn't involved in this anymore." "Alright, but I need time." "You've got that time, but don't take too long." Roger that. Over the next 3 months, Jet and I discovered a couple more liquor supply channels, and then I offered to expand the services a bit and get brain-activating drugs as well. They're essentially harmless, but they're said to be good for exams. And to be honest, they were the simplest vitamins. I simply advertised the product very well. Even Jet believed me. Rich kids snapped up the pills, believing they could help them learn Chinese overnight. But self-influence is a great thing. Some kids really succeeded and they came to me again. Jet was proud of what we were doing, complimenting me on my gut. And then I smoothly proceeded to make good on the promise I had made to his father. I made sure that Jet arranged for me to meet with all the vendors as the contract deadline was nearing. Jet had a fake passport. I stole it from him in a couple of days and he thought he had lost it. I had made a fake one for myself beforehand, and Jet asked me to have the contracts drawn up in my name. Then his father sent him overseas for a few days, as we had agreed. During that time, I had to move our warehouse to another, more secluded place. Basically, I stole the business from a friend. Well, his father asked me to make sure his son wasn't involved, so I did. When Jet came back, I set the fire at the old place, said the merchandise had burned down and Casper did it. And the police came for Casper almost the same day because I made an anonymous call about the drug possession in his house. No, I didn't plant it. I just knew he was addicted. This way I managed to make everything logical, beautiful, and most importantly, I stayed in the black. Later on, Jet was taken out of school and sent to the military academy, and I legalized the business by buying a better product. And even though I was earning less, the business was still going, and not bad at that. In the future, my mother came up with a formula for a drink, which could not be obtained from the 5 kinds available in the bar. We called it Alice, after my mother. That's how I suddenly realized at one point that I wasn't pretending to be rich anymore. I was rich, and it was a hell of a relief. I guess you have some questions about my story. Feel free to ask, and I'll try to answer them all. Don't be shy. Tell me guys, did you like my story? Write your opinion about it in the comments below the video. Don't forget to like it, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.